What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined by my dad, Sean, and today, reactions to the classics. We are up to 1986 in our top 5 albums by year draft. It's been a fun journey, man, and we're cruising along through the 80s quite nicely. Dad, how does the draft style work for those that don't know?
Well, the way it works is we trade off every year with the number one pick, and unfortunately, Trey, you got the number one pick this year. You were up, and there's only one great album this year, in my opinion, so you get it, and I was not happy about that. I get 2 and 3, you get 4 and 5. Sometimes going second's good because you get the next 2 best albums. This year's not going to be that case, but we need you to pay attention at the end of this video because we want you to put in the comments who you think won. This one's going to be a tough one for me to pull out, but there's always a chance. So Trey, I like to tell it through the 80s since I was a child of the 80s. I turned 15 this year of 1986. I was huge into music, but only the real commercial stuff. Didn't know a lot of other stuff. So I was able to go through and listen to a lot of albums that I'd never heard and enjoyed quite a bit. But with that, you haven't said it yet, Trey, even though it's written down. You could back out of this number one pick and take something else if you'd like.
No, I appreciate the offer, but I think I'm going to hold quick to my guns here, man, as this band's third record is going to appear for the third time on our list here through the years. I'm going the Smiths. The Queen is Dead. Went to 2 in the UK, was actually shut out from the number 1 spot. But I think this is the Smiths at their peak, man. Oh, yeah. One of the great albums of the 80s and of all time, in my estimation, man. It tackles the Queen, of course, love, and even their record label right here. It's very varied in subject matter. There's a Light That Never Goes Out is an all-time great song. And
one of your 15-year-old sister's favorite songs of all time. Tells you how iconic
that's right. She has a shirt of the album cover. She does. So hey, that is still Smith's still impacting the youth to this day, man. And I think There's a Light is one of the best example of the melancholy Morrissey lyrics that mesh beautifully with that iconic Johnny Marr jangly guitar style. You have Symmetry Gates, I Know It's Over, The Boy with the Thorn in the Side. All those are contenders, in my opinion, for a Smith's top 10 songs of all time list. I have a full review of this, so I won't speak too much more on it, but if you haven't listened to it, be sure to give it a spin.
And I'll link that review down below. Now, I really had a year here, Trey, where, I've said this before, on some of my lists, they're all commercial hits, not on purpose because I listened to a bunch of other stuff. Most of the commercial hits I look back on that I owned, I don't like. It's just not quality music. Yeah. So this is going to be my list. It's really not on purpose, but just totally.
You got an eclectic mix, right?
Totally out here. My number one pick is a group that I wanted their first 2 albums, and you took them from me, young man, but no more. Strange Times, the Chameleons, not even on Spotify, which we use. I had to go to YouTube to listen to this. Their third studio album and last studio album until there's a couple incarnations of them later on. But you got Tears, you got Swamp Things, you got Seriosity. Mark Burgess, the leader of the band, said it's his favorite, and Liam Gallagher said that this had a huge influence on him. Like years later, he went back and listened to it. He goes, you know what? I was 19 years old. I listened to this album every single day. It maybe had the biggest influence on me outside of the Beatles. But if you haven't listened to the Chameleons, this is the third time all 3 of their albums have appeared on our list. They are absolutely fantastic if you like that atmospheric type of music. My second pick, really out there, Trey. Your Funeral, My Trial, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
I know it's got a lot. I honestly haven't heard either of your first 2 picks. Surprisingly,
well, I mean, as good of a title as you're going to get, just because it's some smack, you can talk to somebody. 4th album originally was released as a double EP. Cave was deep in heroin addiction at the time. He later said in 1992 that particular record, which is my favorite of the records we've done. Now remember, this is 92. They've done a lot of quality stuff after that. Is very special to me, and a lot of amazing things happen musically in the studio. There's some songs on that record that, as far as I'm concerned, are just about perfect as we can really get. Songs like The Carney, which we have up in a battle, actually. Your Funeral, My Trial, and Stranger Than Kindness, I think are all really quite brilliant. I read you Nick's quote because that's exactly my favorite song.
Yeah, your favorite track.
Kind of what I think about this. And how much that heroin addiction had to do with the creativity and how good this album is anybody's guess. But it's fantastic now. It's different. So be prepared if you never listened to it. You're going to go give it a spin. But
We've done a couple different Nick Cave top 10
We have.
lists,
Very
and
popular.
I've really enjoyed them. I've never listened to a full record though by the group, so I gotta
You
rectify
wouldn't be
that,
disappointed, Trey,
man.
but you're going with one of my favorite bands of all time.
Well, I'm really surprised you didn't choose this one, knowing what a big fan you are. And I mean,
it was next.
I would either choose this or Murmur as their best IRS record. I'm going
Don't say stuff like that.
I'm going Life's Rich Pageant by R.E.M,
Murmur.
baby. The Dinner Side is fantastic through and through. You know how R.E.M likes to name their sides, kind of a quirky type of thing. They start to lean here, sort of mix of their patented jangle pop with some of those harder rock elements as we're going through their catalog. Stipe's songwriting is varied, and I'd argue this record includes the strongest vocals up to this point.
I would say that. That's a good
Fall on Me is one of the catchiest songs of the
one of my
decade.
favorite songs. One of the most underrated songs of R.E.M. That song is greatness.
Love that. Love These Days. The Supper side, though, so the B-side, dips in quality a little bit.
Yes, it does.
Which is, if you have a criticism of R.E.M.'s, output at this time, it is that those, B-sides go down a little bit. But it's still, really strong. The Flowers of Guatemala and I Believe are notable. And then the closing Superman track kind of blends together the gorgeous guitar of Peter Buck and Michael's unique vocal melodies in a great way.
I saw one of your favorites you skipped over was Cuyahoga. After you heard that song, Trey, did you want to go around the house going, Cuyahoga? It sticks in your head like nothing, man.
Well, Stipe's got a unique ability to say words that like that you wouldn't think have any melodic, sensibilities to them, and yet there you go, Cuyahoga. You just want to belt it out.
You do.
Going now to my third pick, man, arguably his best record in my opinion. We have Peter Gabriel with the record So. His fifth album, produced by the great Daniel Lanois. Pop is rarely this polished in my estimation, and there is a uniformity in this record, I think, that makes it feel so professional, and that Peter really was going to come out with his best work at this point. The songs here are more lengthy, but nothing seems to drag, which is a tough thing to balance. The rhythm is a highlight, and his clean and soft vocal delivery give this bit of a soothing tone. Couple that with Lanois' production fingerprints, and I think he just got a great record. Mercy Street, Red Rain, the iconic Sledgehammer. Go check out. You're not a Sledgehammer guy, but go check out the video, people. Come on.
And in your eye, I'll tell you, Trey, this is a great album, and I didn't realize it because I hated the song Sledgehammer with a Passion. I'm sorry, guys. I just did. I hated it. But we did a top 10 for one of our patrons, Brian, and there were some songs from this album on there. And, of course, In Your Eyes is a phenomenal song, and everyone knows it from Say Anything. But it's a great album, and I was shocked by that. Now we get back over to my list. A group that I didn't even know who they were. You did because I asked you if you knew them, but Bad Brains.
Dude, this is a very left field pick for you, and
I don't know what he's trying to say. He's trying to say I'm old, guys.
No, I didn't expect Bad Brains to ever pop up on the list, but I'm here for it.
Well, it's their album Eye Against Eye, third studio album, title track. By the way, Jeff Buckley did a great cover of this later of the title
Eye
track.
Against Eye.
Yeah, highly influential. I mean, this group is highly influential. 10 tracks, they're all good. It was really hard for me to pick out favorites. They're just all different. One of them was recorded on a phone from prison.
No, that's right. I kind of remembered when I was listening to this record, because it's interesting because their early stuff, like the Bad Brains self-titled, very kind of aggressive, punky, while as they matured as a group.
Yeah, this one shifts a little bit. Now, I never even heard of them until I started doing research for this year's and gave them a listen. It's like, wait a minute, what are these guys? Now we'll go to somebody who, there's a top 10 list up that we've done. Billy Bragg, never listened to anything outside of the top 10 list of him. Talking with the Taxman About Poetry.
It's a good album. I like this pick right here.
Third album, the classic Levi Stubbs' Tears, which is just absolutely phenomenal. Ideology, it borrows from Dylan's Chimes of Freedom. Dylan actually gets a songwriting credit on there, but that's because he borrowed from it. They didn't write the song together. More instrumentation musicians in the first two albums are really just acoustic in him. It has the great Christy McCall on vocals and Johnny Marr on guitar on Greetings to the New Brunette. So I got some Smiths and some Marr in here somewhere, Trey.
No, man, and I think, talking Billy Bragg, anything I've listened to, I've really enjoyed from him. I think he's, maybe... quite underrated here in the States, at least, as a singer-songwriter.
And a lot of the stuff is, starts to lean political and towards more UK matters, obviously, because that's where he's from. So maybe as Americans, he didn't get over here, and we we didn't relate to it as well because it's not speaking what we're going through.
No, I think that's a good point, man. And as I finish out my list here, going to number 4, I'm going to XTC's Skylarking. It's interesting as you track their early releases and just see how many different musical styles they've gone on, from kind of the brooding post-punk, new wavy drums and wires and Black Sea to the hodgepodge of English Settlement, which was on my list a few years prior. They're never one to shy away from a musical genre, and on Skylarking they lean into that psychedelic side. 14 songs, they all hover around that 3-minute range. I definitely felt a lot of influence instrumentally from that 60s era Beach Boys, the Brian Wilson fingerprints on it. Todd Rundgren actually adds some sleek production. Todd Rundgren and old Andy Partridge, lead man of XTC, not big fans of each other. A lot of tumultuous time in the studio, and even after the fact, the group didn't like the thin production, which apparently happened.
Rundgren had some problems with some people at times as a producer.
So A side I think is just absolutely loaded, and B side falters a little bit. The tunes are easy enough on the ears that it's still enjoyable, very lush, and you're likely to appreciate this at the worst and love it if you let Andy Partridge's song take you to a magical place. I liked Ballet for a Rainy Day, Earn Enough for Us, and Grass as my favorites. And
yeah, I listened to this album, and I thought I was going to love it because a lot of people on our channel love Ecstasy. They think they're great, and I just didn't like it. I wanted to.
I mean, if you don't like the type of vibe they're going for with the psychedelic, since the whole record kind of keeps that.
I usually do like that for the most part. For some reason, it didn't hit with me, but I only listened to it once, so I know a lot of people will approve of that pick.
Well, hopefully I'm going to bounce you back here with this last pick, Sean, because they appeared on last year's list, and they're appearing on this one, man. Metallica, the Master of Puppets, their third record, last to have their bassist Cliff Burton, who tragically passed away doing promo work in Europe. But it's the first metal recording actually ever chosen to be preserved by the Library of Congress here in the U.S. Battery opens up the record with one of Metallica's best riffs. I think I have some memorable acoustic playing at the very start of the song as well. Title track is lengthy and is one of their best works too, talking about how drugs can control someone, the master of puppets, so to speak, man. Switching tempos, you again have James Hetfield's varied vocals really take the song to another level. And even the B-side contains some slower burns like Orion and the headbang-inducing Damage Inc. Man, you got a little bit of it all. I think I prefer Ride the Lightning just a little bit to this, but you can't go wrong with this either. Your mileage will vary on how much you enjoy kind of thrash metal, but hey.
It definitely will, and I'll just leave it at that. My last pick is one that I own this album, and I thought there's no way in 1986 I would have chosen this album. But after I went back and listened to it, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Steve Winwood.
There you go.
Back in the High Life. His 4th solo album, won 3 Grammys, most successful solo album. Number 3 in the U.S., sold 5 million copies. Wow. His previous 2 albums, he played every instrument. So Winwood's out there in the Prince and McCartney and Bowie world, guys.
Shout out to them, man.
But this one, he brought in a lot of different musicians to help him out, as well as contributions on different songs from Shaka Khan, James Ingram, and sweet baby James Taylor. But the thing on this album, you have blending of like Caribbean and world music sounds and gospel flavors to his pop, rock, and R&B. Steve is showing that longevity 20 years after he did some stuff with Traffic. So Trey, that gets our proper list. Now we got some honorable mention. My first honorable mention, and you see you laugh because Trey says this doesn't hold up. He can't stand it. I know every word to every song on this. This has just got to be one of those things where you grew up with it.
I respect it.
I probably shot 10,000 jump shots seriously to this album. Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. Don't laugh, Trey. Don't laugh.
No,
Stop it.
I mean, it definitely has 1986 written all over
just
it.
Move on to yours.
I'm going Elvis Costello and the Attractions, Blood and Chocolate. My maybe second favorite release by them. Depeche Mode's Black Celebration. Really, I've been enjoyed going through Depeche Mode's catalog.
Yeah, me too.
Quite impressive. Going a little Megadeth action. Peace sells, but who's buying?
I'm not.
And an album that I think some people might. Where in the world is this? It was just just shut out. Paul Simon's Graceland.
People are going to really freak over this, but yeah, just didn't make it.
Susie and the Banshees, Tinderbox.
I almost picked that.
Love them. Steve Albini's group only had 2 records, but Big Black's Atomizer. Janet Jackson's Control. Had to mention that. I know you're not a huge fan.
Gosh, no.
I thought it was solid. I
was just overexposure and couldn't stand it. And yeah, go
on. New Order's Brotherhood, Throwing Muses, self-titled, and then a little early hip-hop action, Run DMC, Raising.
First album really go crazy. Yeah.
So as you can see, a little bit of everything genre-wise, kind of bubbling on the surface here. Let us know, y'all, your favorite records of the year on top of just who you think won, Sean or I, from this list, man. And 1987 will be back in action next week.
And a pretty loaded year, right up there with 1985, in my opinion, for strength when we get to 87. But guys, thanks for joining us. If you want to support us anyway, that's kind of what makes these things happen. We shoot videos every single day. Check out the Patreon link below or the Patreon link on the end screen. Being a patron also allows you to vote for our listening parties that we do once a month. There'll be some albums from 3 or 4 of these 80s years on there, and we'll vote for the one that we're going to listen to on a Thursday night on YouTube. You'll get a voice in that.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to have y'all over there as a part of that community, man. And appreciate all of you watching. And until next time, we will see ya.